Everything possible will be done to prevent his walking about Paris any more." Who was the he? Menacing obscurity. The principal leaders, as they said in the faubourgs, held themselves apart. It was supposed that they met for consultation in a wine shop near the Point Saint Eustache. A certain Ogg, chief of the Society Aide for Tailors, Rue Mondétour, had the reputation of serving as intermediary central between the leaders and the Faubourg Saint-Antoine. Nevertheless, there was always a great deal of mystery about these leaders, and no certain fact can invalidate the singular arrogance of this reply made later on by a man accused before the Court of Peers. "Who was your leader?" "I knew of none, and I recognized none." There was nothing but words, transparent but vague, sometimes idle reports, rumors, hearsay. Other indications cropped up. A carpenter, occupied in nailing boards to a fence around the ground on which a house was in process of construction in the Rue de Rouille, found on that plot the torn fragment of a letter, on which were still legible the following lines: "The committee must take measures to prevent recruiting in the sections for the different societies." And as a postscript: "We have learned that there are guns in the Rue de Faubourg Poissonnière, numéro 5, to the number of 5,000 or 6,000 in the house of a gunsmith in that court. The section owns no arms." What excited the carpenter and caused him to show this thing to his neighbors was the fact that a few paces further on he picked up another paper, torn like the first, and still more significant, of which we reproduce a facsimile because of the historical interest attached to these strange documents. The document is in the form of a table, headed with the letters Q, C, D, E, followed by the instructions: "Learn this list by heart. After so doing, you will tear it up. The men admitted will do the same when you have transmitted their orders to them. Health and fraternity. U, O, G, A, F, E, L." It was only later on that the persons who were in the secret of this find at the time learned the significance of those 4 capital letters: quinturions, centurions, decurions, éclaireurs, scouts, and the sense of the letters U, O, G, A, F, E, which was a date and meant April 15th, 1832. Under each capital letter were inscribed names, followed by very characteristic notes. Thus, Q. Bannerel, 8 guns, 83 cartridges, a safe man. C. Boubier, 1 pistol, 40 cartridges. D. Rollet, 1 foil, 1 pistol, 1 pound of powder. E. Tessier, 1 sword, 1 cartridge box. Exact, Terrier, 8 guns, Brave, etc. Finally, this carpenter found, still in the same enclosure, a third paper, on which was written in pencil, but very legibly, this sort of enigmatical list: Unit, Blanchard, Arbre, Sec, 6, Barras, Soise, Salle au Comte, Kosciusko, Aubry the butcher, J, J, R, Caius Gracius, right of revision, Dufond, 4, fall of the Girondists, Debrac, Maubuée, Washington, Pinson, 1 pistol, 86 cartridges, Marseillaise, sovereignty of the people, Michel, Quincampoix, sword, Hoche, Marceau, Plato, Arbre Sec, Warsaw, Tilly, crier of the Populaire. The honest bourgeois into whose hands this list fell knew its significance. It appears that this list was the complete nomenclature of the sections of the 4th arrondissement of the Society of the Rights of Man, with the names and dwellings of the chiefs of sections. Today, when all these facts which were obscure are nothing more than history, we may publish them. It should be added that the foundation of the Society of the Rights of Man seems to have been posterior to the date when this paper was found. Perhaps this was only a rough draft. Still, according to all the remarks and the words, according to written notes, material facts begin to make their appearance. In the Rue Popincourt, in the house of a dealer in bric-à-brac, there were seized 7 sheets of gray paper, all folded alike lengthwise and in 4. These sheets enclosed 26 squares of the same gray paper folded in the form of a cartridge, and a card on which was written the following: saltpetre, 12 ounces, sulphur, 2 ounces, charcoal, 2 ounces and a half, water, 2 ounces. The report of the seizure stated that the drawer exhaled a strong smell of powder. A mason returning from his day's work left behind him a little package on a bench near the bridge at Austerlitz. This package was taken to the police station. It was opened, and in it were found 2 printed dialogues, signed L'Hotier, a song entitled Workmen Band Together, and a tin box full of cartridges. One artisan drinking with a comrade made the latter feel him to see how warm he was. The other man felt a pistol under his waistcoat. In a ditch on the boulevard between Père Lachaise and the Barrière de Tronne, at the most deserted spot, some children, while playing, discovered beneath a mass of shavings and refuse bits of wood a bag containing a bullet mold, a wooden punch for the preparation of cartridges, a wooden bowl in which there were grains of hunting powder, and a little cast iron pot whose interior presented evident traces of melted lead. Police agents, making their way suddenly and unexpectedly at 5 o'clock in the morning into the dwelling of a certain Pardon, who was afterwards a member of the Barricade Merry section and got himself killed in the insurrection of April 1834, found him standing near his bed and holding in his hand some cartridges which he was in the act of preparing. Towards the hour when working men repose, 2 men were seen to meet between the Barrière Picpus and the Barrière Charenton in a little lane between 2 walls, near a wine shop, in front of which there was a jeu de Siam. One drew a pistol from beneath his blouse and handed it to the other. As he was handing it to him, he noticed that the perspiration of his chest had made the powder damp. He primed the pistol and added more powder to what was already in the pan. Then the 2 men parted. A certain Gallet, afterwards killed in the Rue Beaubourg in the affair of April, boasted of having in his house 700 cartridges and 24 flints. The government one day received a warning that arms and 200,000 cartridges had just been distributed in the Faubourg. On the following week, 30,000 cartridges were distributed. The remarkable point about it was that the police were not able to seize a single one. An intercepted letter read: "The day is not far distant when, within 4 hours by the clock, 80,000 patriots will be under arms." All this fermentation was public, one might almost say tranquil. The approaching insurrection was preparing its storm calmly in the face of the government. No singularity was lacking to this still subterranean crisis, which was already perceptible. The bourgeoisie talked peacefully to the working classes of what was in preparation. They said, "How is the rising coming along?" in the same tone in which they would have said, "How is your wife?" A furniture dealer in the Rue Moreau inquired, "Well, when are you going to make the attack?" Another shopkeeper said, "The attack will be made soon. I know it. A month ago there were 15,000 of you, now there are 25,000. He offered his gun, and a neighbor offered a small pistol, which he was willing to sell for 7 francs. Moreover, the revolutionary fever was growing. Not a point in Paris nor in France was exempt from it. The artery was beating everywhere, like those membranes which arise from certain inflammations and form in the human body. The network of secret societies began to spread all over the country. from the associations of the friends of the people,